Questions on a statement made in the House of Commons yesterday on the reset of HS2?
My Lords, the history of the HS2 project is not a happy one. It was proposed in its current form initially by the noble Lord Adonis and endorsed by Gordon Brown in the wake of the global financial crisis, then taken up enthusiastically by the coalition government, in which all major decisions were made by a quad that included Nick Clegg and Danny Alexander, and indeed in which the noble Baroness Lady Kramer, sadly not in her place, was a minister, Norman Baker, and so forth. It was then taken forward further by the Conservative government following 2015. Failure often has many parents, and there's no doubt that that HS2 has been a mess. The letter from Mark Wilde and the report from James Stewart leave us in no doubt of that at all. I want to start by thanking the Minister for the statement. I want to welcome the appointment of Mike Brown as chairman of HS2 and the appointment last year by the Conservatives of Mark Wilde as chief executive, both people with whom I have worked in the past, as has the Minister. My first question to the Minister, I think, is whether there has been equally significant change in senior personnel at the Department for Transport. I ask that because the James Stewart report leaves one in no doubt that the Department for Transport failed sufficiently to distinguish its various roles in this project, including as sponsor, as funder, as policymaker, and as shareholder. This brings me to questions of governance model. The settled orthodoxy in recent years has been that for projects, government-supported projects, to succeed, there must be a clear structural division between a sponsor body and a delivery body. On paper, this is logical. The sponsor sets the strategic direction and prevents outside parties from changing the objectives by gold plating and adding further requirements as time goes by. It holds the delivery body to account, and the delivery body focuses on the execution. In the case of HS2, this model has not functioned as intended. It has broken down, and rather than providing a framework for responsibility and efficient delivery, it has resulted in a culture of what might be called deferral. The dominance of the Department for Transport, well known anecdotally by those familiar with the project, the dominance of the Department for Transport over the board of HS2 has resulted, as James Stewart identifies in his report, in the board not carrying out its functions but deferring important questions it should have taken to the department. As a result, decisions were delayed, accountability was blurred, and independence of delivery was undermined. And at the same time, as I say, itself, the department itself, as I say, did not fully separate its own strategic oversight role as sponsor from its various operational entanglements. There was no clear split within the department between those who were supposed to hold the project to account and those who were working with it in other regards. So we're left with very serious questions that go way beyond HS2, something we've relied on. They affect, for example, the restoration and renewal project of the Palace of Westminster, something we relied on as a dependable structure which appeared to prove itself largely, for example, in the case of Crossrail, has broken down. My second question to the Minister then is, what thinking is the government giving to a new model that is going to work well for projects in the future, or are we now staring blind. The final point I want to make in these few remarks relates to Euston Station. Euston Station is, strictly speaking, no longer part of HS2 Limited's responsibilities, as I understand. It was a decision of the last government to put it into a separate company. But I am not aware that I know of the existence of that separate company. Perhaps it exists on paper. I'm not aware of the board of that company or the chairman of that company. I'm not aware what that company is actually doing. Because while the government has committed to taking the tunnels forward from Old Oak Common to Euston Station, there is as yet no plan for the delivery of platforms at Euston Station which would allow passengers to make use of those tunnels. I've always felt, I'm not speaking for my party now so much as for myself when I say that I've always felt that a terminal solution, a terminal station solution for Old Oak Common was somewhat old-fashioned, that we should perhaps take an example from HS2 at St Pancras, which simply has two platforms underneath the station, and the trains come in and they go through. Perhaps we shouldn't be thinking now, it would cost money, but then the plan for Euston Station is going to cost a great deal of money, about alternative solutions that might go take the lines through to a depot that might be in the east of London, to the east of London. And I wonder if the Minister is able to say something about the plans for Euston and how open the department now is